I was starving, not just hungry, but the kind of starvation that made my stomach twist in agony, the kind that blurred my vision and made my head pound. I had gone 3 days without a proper meal, surviving on tap water and a few stale crackers I found at the bottom of my backpack. My body felt weak, my limbs trembled, and my breath was shallow. I sat alone in the dark, on the cold, hard floor of my tiny dorm room, if I could even call it that. It was more like a prison cell. No heat. No proper bed. Just a thin mattress with a torn blanket that barely covered my body at night. I had no roommate, and I was grateful for that because I didn't want anyone to see me like this. Broken. Defeated, and barely surviving. Tears streamed down my face as I stared at my phone screen. No new messages. No missed calls. No one cared. Not my family. Not my so-called friends from high school. Not even my professors, who barely acknowledged my existence in class. I had nothing. I had come to college with dreams, with hope that my life would finally change. But the reality had crushed me. Tuition was unbearable, rent was suffocating, and food. Food was a luxury I could no longer afford. That night, as I clutched my stomach in pain, I wondered if this was it. Was this the end of me? Would I wake up tomorrow? Did I even want to? I curled into myself, sobbing, my breath hitching in my throat. I tried to be strong, but strength felt so far away. Then, as I wiped my tears away, I made a decision, one that would change everything. I wasn't going to give up. I was going to fight, even if it meant suffering, even if it meant breaking myself over and over. I was going to survive. I wasn't always like this. I wasn't always the pitiful girl struggling to survive in college. I grew up in a broken home, where love was a foreign language no one ever bothered to learn. My father left when I was 5. My mother, well, she was there physically, but emotionally, she had checked out a long time ago. She drowned herself in alcohol, in men, in anything that numbed her pain. I had to raise myself. I learned to cook at 8, to fend for myself at 10, and to work at 14. I scrubbed floors, washed dishes, and did whatever it took to keep a roof over my head. College was supposed to be my escape, my fresh start. But instead, it was my biggest nightmare. I got in on a partial scholarship, which barely covered anything. The rest? Loans and whatever scraps I could earn from working odd jobs. But no one prepared me for how brutal it would be. I couldn't afford the textbooks. I couldn't afford proper meals. I couldn't even afford warm clothes for the brutal New York winter that seeped into my bones and made my fingers numb. And worst of all, I had no one. I worked multiple jobs just to survive. Jobs that drained me, jobs that broke me. I cleaned toilets in fast food restaurants at night, mopped floors in office buildings at dawn, and served rude customers at a cafe during the day. My feet ached, my back screamed in pain, and my soul? My soul was exhausted. But the worst part was the humiliation. There were nights when I had to pick food from the trash behind the cafe because I was too ashamed to ask for leftovers. There were mornings I walked to class with a growling stomach, pretending I wasn't hungry, and the people, they looked at me with disgust. The rich kids with their designer clothes, the professors who only cared about students with money, the classmates who whispered behind my back. They all made me feel like I didn't belong, and maybe they were right. Maybe I didn't belong. One night, after a brutal shift at the restaurant, I collapsed on the sidewalk. My vision blurred, my legs gave out, and before I knew it, I was on the ground, gasping for air. People walked past me. No one stopped. No one cared. I lay there for what felt like an eternity, my body too weak to move. I wanted to cry, but I had no more tears left. I was tired. Tired of fighting, tired of suffering, tired of being invisible. But in that moment, as I lay on the cold pavement, I realized something. No one was going to save me. If I wanted to survive, I had to save myself. I dragged myself up that night, forced myself to stand, and walked home with whatever strength I had left. And from that moment on, I changed. I started training myself, not just physically, but mentally. I woke up earlier. I forced myself to study, no matter how exhausted I was. I found ways to eat without spending money, signing up for food pantries, attending events with free meals, and learning how to cook cheap, filling meals. I took on even more jobs. Yes, I suffered, but I suffered with purpose now. I taught myself to be stronger, to endure, to survive. Slowly, things began to change. I got a better job, a tutoring gig that paid more than scrubbing toilets. I made connections, met people who saw my struggle and offered me opportunities. I stopped caring about what others thought of me. I focused on myself, and eventually I thrived. Graduation day came. As I stood there, in my cheap second-hand gown, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: pride. I did it. I survived. And as I walked across that stage, I knew one thing for sure: no one could ever break me again.
Please subscribe, like, comment and share this video. It means a lot to us. Thank you.